Well, ladies and gentlemen, I come with you with some sad news. Frank Sinatra Jr. Has passed away from cardiac arrest. He was doing a tour down in Florida and um, died at 72. And very sad because the Sinatra family is my favorite celebrity family. Everybody knows that. Frank Sinatra Sr. is my all-time favorite singer ever. Now, but his son Frank Jr. Was very interesting too in his own right. You know, he played the piano. He was a singer too, but you know, just kind of like under the table, sort of, just in clubs or whatever. He's more of a instrumental guy, playing a pianist, and things like that. And he had an interesting career in his own right. And when you watch interviews with Frank Sinatra Jr. talking about his dad, he came off very intelligent, very kind, and well spoken. He had some really good answers, and you learned a lot about the Sinatra family from Frank Jr. more so, because he would talk about how close him and his dad were, and how Frank Sr. was a pop icon, greatest of all time singer, whatnot. But once Frank Sr. came home, he would take off the hat and just be a good dad, just be a family man, just be a dad. He wasn't Frank Sinatra, the performer. He was the father. And he raised his son, Frank Jr., and Nancy, pretty well. And very good family, and a good celebrity family. And I'm absolutely heartbroken to hear that Frank Jr. passed, because I was following Frank Jr. on Facebook and on YouTube. He was at the New York Yankees baseball game singing the national anthem, and he was doing tours called Sinatra Does Sinatra, where basically it was a tribute to his dad, and he was just singing all the hits from his dad used to sing, and it was keeping the Sinatra brand alive and keeping the fans like myself happy, and it was nice to see, because Frank Jr. could sing in his own right, you know, um, because he had good genes, but very interesting guy. Frank Jr. to me, he was talented in different ways from his dad. His dad, greatest singer ever, period, hands down, in my opinion. But Frank Jr. was more of an intellectual type. He would give them sharp interviews. And in his later years, he would, before Frank Sr., passed, he was a conductor for his dad. He would help, book tours, book events for Frank Sr., and pretty much, conduct the orchestra. And that was the bonding period, because there was a time, as Frank Jr. was growing up, Sinatra was he was there. He was a good dad, like I said, but Sinatra Sr. was out touring. He was always away, always gone. And but towards the end of Sinatra Sr.'s career, he had his son Frank Jr. conduct with him, go on tour with him, and that was a very close bonding period for father and son. And Frank Jr. would always talk about that in interviews. He'd say, "I really, enjoyed spending the last few years with my dad, and we really got close, and and things like that." And they had a real father and son, but they had a really good friendship, you know. And it's just sad to hear that, as a Sinatra, the celebrity name, the Sinatra family, just being a huge fan of them and following the name, Nancy Sinatra and Frank Jr., following everybody, the Sinatra family. And now Frank Jr.'s gone, and that's sad. And, he was only 72. Frank Sr. lived to be 82, and Frank Jr., to my knowledge, he never smoked. He didn't do, he didn't drink, he didn't do booze or nothing like that. Like I said, he was more of an intellectual. So it's surprising to me that he died like that suddenly. But it just goes to show you, you never know. Life's a roll of the dice. You take perfect care of yourself, and just like that, you can just expire. But and now Frank Senior and Frank Junior's gone, and that's just heartbreaking to me. But I mean, we knew it was going to happen sooner or later. But I don't like to hear stuff like that. And when I read that, I started, I got tears in my eyes. I actually cried. I still got tears in my eyes. I know I'm a big fanboy, a big Mark, but I just care about the family. You listen to Frank Sinatra's music and how he would touch the human emotion and how he was the master of music. And you start to care about the family. You want to learn about his son and people like that. And, Frank Jr. had his own career and everything, and he was an interesting cat too. You care about these people because they're just like us. They're just regular, down to earth family people, and well, you just care about them. So it's the family I followed, and it's sad because Frank Jr. will go around and do interviews and talk about the legacy of traditional pop music in general, the big ballads, the big bands, the orchestra, stuff you don't hear anymore. The kind of music you can't appreciate with earbuds in your ear. It's the kind of performers, orchestras you have to see on stage. You have to be there live to really hear that wonderful, brilliant music. And Frank Jr. will always stress that. He kept the memory alive of the orchestra and that type of music. And of course, his dad. It sucks, man. It's sad, and but to me, I'll never forget the Sinatras. I think they're the best as far as music goes, and I never forget that, and I always appreciate history and that period of music because it's timeless. And a lot of young people are starting to listen to Frank Sinatra, Elvis, so on and so forth, because they're growing up with such terrible pop music nowadays. Music is so computerized and poppy and catchy. It's just no good. And young people are turning back to the past, and they're discovering, talents like Frank Sinatra Sr. and learn about the intellectual that was, Frank Sinatra Jr. It's just, I just want to give my condolences to the Sinatra family, Nancy Sinatra and the others. And like Frank Sinatra Sr. said, well, like it said on his tombstone, Sr., it said, the best is yet to come. And I think that's a great way to put over the future, your descendants. And other than that, that's all I can say. But Frank Jr., great man. I'm not just saying that. Sinatra family's legit. And I'll miss him. And it's a shame I didn't get to catch one of the Sinatra Does Sinatra shows. It's really sad because I wanted to actually see that, because I was too young to get to see Frank Sr. Perform, go to the concerts and stuff like that. I mean, but I would like to see Frank Jr. at least. And here in North Carolina, we have the Ava Gardner Museum, which is Frank Jr.'s stepmother and Frank Sr.'s, ex-wife. And she passed in the 80s. We lost Frank Sr. in the 90s. And we lost Frank Jr. in the 2010s here. Now all the legends are gone. Dean Martin from that era, traditional pop music / jazz era. They're all gone. So my condolences to Nancy Sinatra, Tina Sinatra, everyone there, the baby boys, the baby girls they've had. Let the Sinatra name live on and never be forgotten. And Everyone, take care.